Chael Sonnen basically said, hey, everybody, there's a good chance that this was a work. And that the reason Roger hasn't been arrested is because there's a chance that Psycho Stu might wake up and say, hey, it was all a work. It's good. And people are basically saying, how dare you say that? He clearly tried to kill him. You're an idiot. You're trying to defend him. Because at the very beginning of the video, Chael Sonnen said, I know Roger and I like him. So everything, all credibility went out the window. So let me say this. I don't like Chael Sonnen. I don't like him. And I don't know Roger Jackson. I have no skin in the game. I don't care about either of them. I have no ties to them. I have no relationships to maintain with them. I got no one in my pocket. I got no one to lose. I don't get views anyway. Doesn't matter. So I can speak freely because I fear nothing. It bothered me the way that people came at Chael Sonnen, not because I care about him, but because I care about holding people accountable for how they act. There's been a whole mob mentality thing going on lately. And everyone's just jumping on the bandwagon. And here's what I think. There's just a little part that I think should be at least observed that I haven't heard anybody talk about. Anybody. Number one, I'll tell you when I get to it. Let me preface it first. Number one, everybody knows it was a work. If you're watching this video, you should know by now it was a work because it's on every bit of footage. Roger agreed to it and Psycho Stu. Now, to the extent of it, there's no way anyone could have known how stupid Roger would be. Clearly, Psycho Stu didn't agree to almost being beat to death. But what I think is important to observe, which I haven't heard, and that's always what I want to do here. If there's a topic out there in the MMA community and everyone's already talked about it, I don't really have a desire to talk about it. I don't need that. But there's something I haven't heard anybody else mention, and maybe it doesn't matter, but I think it should at least be mentioned. Number one, Roger was told you can get in the ring and get your receipt. You can get in there and get physical with him. Okay? That was already stupid. This was a perfect storm of stupidity from everybody. The Village People looking dude with the cowboy hat made bad choices. The dude that I think was related to Rikishi, the dude that had like a bath towel around him and he was like naked. He was like an old Samoan dude or something, had long hair. He was making bad decisions. Some other dude kind of out of frame that was shaking his hand and stuff saying, you know, you could do this and that. He was making bad decisions. Everybody there made bad decisions. He should have never been led into the ring. He was led into the ring to get his receipt. Okay. Now, I remember early on in this whole situation, I had a thought and then I kind of forgot about it because so much stuff kept happening. My early thought was, you know what is kind of I don't know if it doesn't change anything, but I was wondering, does Roger Jackson know anything about professional wrestling? Because if he doesn't, that could have had a huge part in the way he acted. And I later saw on his feed, on his chat, on his stream, he says, I don't know anything about wrestling. And I know some people might find that hard to believe, but I have young people in my life who I've tried to expose to wrestling. And believe it or not, I know people that are here watching videos like this right now, we're very combat sports oriented. Even if we don't actively watch something, we know enough. We have a general awareness of power slap fighting, pillow fight championship, people fighting in a phone booth, a literal phone booth, people in China, people fighting in a convertible with seatbelts on and stuff like that. The epic fighting championship out of Russia where a 500-pound dude will fight 3 ladies. And WWE. We have an awareness of these things. We could kind of identify each one. Some people, believe it or not, cannot. Again, I had people in my life when I exposed them to wrestling, they were like, what is this? Why do they look like that? Why do they talk like that? Why do they have these kinds of names? Why do they dress that way? Why do they fight that way? That doesn't even look like fighting. I've never seen fighting like that in my life. How do you win? Wait a minute. He won by doing that? That doesn't look like the end of a fight. It was the most foreign thing that they've ever seen. So that has to be acknowledged and accepted. Just because you know about something doesn't mean someone else does. So my thought was, does he know anything about how this is supposed to look or go? And he said on chat, I don't know nothing about this. I was just here to watch my friend. I wasn't trying to do this. So then he starts. I'm getting ahead here. Here's the next thing to consider. Roger Jackson, and again, I'm not justifying anything he did. He's accountable. He should be held accountable. However, Roger Jackson was like the worst person that could have been in this situation, in this perfect storm. Because, and this is so important, and if you don't think this is important, I don't know what to do with you. If you can't acknowledge the importance of this, go watch the Weasel's video again and validate yourself. I don't know. Roger Jackson not only didn't know anything about professional wrestling, doesn't watch professional wrestling, doesn't have nothing to do with it, doesn't have an idea of how it operates and functions. His dad, Roger Jackson's dad, was a dude who was a professional MMA fighter in Pride. His dad was a professional MMA fighter in a promotion which Rampage himself has admitted had a ton of fixed fights. Now, I don't remember off the top of my beanie, and I should have done the research on this. I don't recall Rampage ever saying he directly himself was ever in one of them. However, Roger has full awareness. Clearly, he is aware of his dad's career, saw the fights, was probably at some of the fights, seen the footage. He knows his culture. He knows where he came from. His dad is a professional MMA fighter that fought in a promotion widely known to have had many fixed fights. Well, according to Roger, he was about to go into a fixed fight. He didn't know nothing about wrestling, but my dad was in a promotion that did fixed fights. What did those fights look like? Combine that with the fact that apparently, and this was new to me, I just found this out today. Apparently, he was told, keep swinging until the ref peels you off. So when you don't know anything about professional wrestling, because why would you? I don't watch it today. It's lame. It's pathetic. It's weird. It's not like in the old days. I wouldn't be caught watching wrestling now. I don't watch wrestling now. I could fully believe someone not watching it and not knowing anything about what it's supposed to look like. So he was invited in there to get his receipt after he just had a can smacked on his head. He was told, you know, you're not faking it. You get in there, get your receipt, because in there, that's a real way to get back. He doesn't know anything about wrestling. His dad was a professional MMA fighter in fights that were predetermined, and they still looked the realest of the real. And that was what Rampage referred to the other day when he was talking about, well, the only chance he has is if this was a hardcore work, where it's predetermined and you basically tell each other, do what you got to do. You know, just don't kill me. Just do what you got to do. It's got to look real. Now, here's the part where you could get real mad at me. I'm not saying Psycho Stu did that. I don't think Psycho Stu could have ever known that Roger would be that stupid. But here, I mean, could you at least fathom being with me up to this point? Because the people at the promotion got nervous when the can went on his head, whether they were fearing he would be litigious or whatever, they're like, okay, well, let's make it good. You can get in there and smack him around. We're good, right? He's like, fine. As long as I get my lick back, we're fine. Okay, cool. They shouldn't have done that. They should have found some more mature, level-headed way of fixing that than being like, oh, you want to jump in and fight him? So here's all I'm saying up to this point. They made a bad choice by saying, you could get in there and hit him. Okay. Combined with he knows nothing about pro wrestling. Combined with his dad was a pro MMA fighter who was in a promotion that had predetermined fights. And those fights looked so real that people to this day wish that it would come back instead of the UFC because of how good and solid and real those fights look. They could still be real. People still get choked out. People still get knocked out when they're predetermined. So what I started to think was, is it possible that he's so dumb that he's like, I've seen fights like this. This is what my dad did. He was in fixed fights. Well, maybe he wasn't, but he was in a promotion that had fixed fights. These fights were predetermined and they still looked real. People would still get knocked out. I had someone telling me keep swinging till they peel me off. And I thought, is it possible this guy's that dumb that that's what allowed him to do something so ridiculous? Now, let me say this. If I was Roger and I went in there and I slammed him, the moment I saw his face unconscious, I stand up and go, ooh, yeah, and I run out of there in my head thinking, oh my gosh, is he okay? Because that's what a normal person would do. This dude starts teeing off on him 20-something times. So again, I have to keep saying, I'm not justifying what he did. I'm not saying he's free. I'm not saying he's okay. He should still be held accountable. Because if it was me, and I'm sure most of you, the moment you slammed him and see his eyes unconscious, in your head, you're like, oh no! But then, just to save face and not break kayfabe, what you go, yeah! Then you run out of there and let, the ref deal with it. But this guy, again, that's why it's the perfect storm. I could understand up to that point. There's a possibility that this guy's so dumb that he didn't know nothing. That he could have just said, you know what? We're good. When the guy slammed the can on his head, he could have thought, I'm a pro fighter. Even though I lost my only pro fight. I'm a pro fighter. I know what I'm capable of. I don't need that. I'm above that. We're good, bro. You're kayfabe. I get it. I'm living a better life than you. I'm good. I don't need that. But he did need it because of insecurities or whatever. So he made that mistake. He didn't have to take him up on that. And honestly, if it were me again, if someone did that to me, I'd be like, bro, I don't got nothing to prove. What you did was dumb. I don't know why you felt like you had to do that, but I don't need to meet you at that level. I'm good. Go have a good life. That was weird. I'm not gonna take that bait and go in there and stretch this out. But Roger did that. And my thought was, is it possible that he's so dumb that, okay, he doesn't know anything about wrestling, and he does know about his dad and his career and how those fights were fixed and how they look real, and people told him keep hitting till we peel you off. He thought, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. But again, there's no excuse for once you see the guy out to keep doing it at the level which he was doing it. You guys already know the way I am when we watch the fight nights, pay-per-views. I hate it. I hate it when someone's out and people keep hammer fisting them. I hate that. I think have some class. Do a walk-off. That looks so much cooler. It doesn't give you any points like the whole super necessary. I hated that. I didn't like that. I think Tapoeira did it to Oliveira too. I'm not positive. But Masvidal did it to Askren. People do it all the time. And I always say that's gross. I don't like it. People are like, oh, you're soft. Well, how do you guys feel now? Do you like it now? I didn't like it either. I don't like it in any case. So I'm not that guy that's like, yeah, Raja's okay. He didn't do anything wrong. I don't ever like that kind of stuff. You shouldn't hit anybody unconscious. That's disgusting. And I feel like most people in that situation would have known better, but he didn't. And look, again, I'm not giving him an excuse. Because if Roger would have did that to anyone that we care and love about, we would all say the same thing. Lock him up. So I'm going to maintain that perspective and be objective. However, because like I always say, when you're truly honest with yourself and objective, Multiple things can be true at once. Life isn't always black and white. Like Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez. Would you say they're probably off, a little bit off? They're not, something went wrong? I'm assuming you'd say yes. Now, does that make any of us say, therefore, they shouldn't have got locked up? No. No, they're a danger to society. They shouldn't be free. So the reason I say that first is because I want to say, and I want to establish first, that even though I think someone has problems, yeah, if they're a danger, they shouldn't be free. Let's say we remove what happened from the situation. Let's remove Psycho Stu. Let's remove the last 3 days. Try your hardest, because I know you're mad at Roger. I am too. But try your best to act like the last 3 days did not happen. Like, honestly, try to do that. Just as an exercise. Try to pretend this never happened. When I watch the footage of Rampage and Roger, I feel so bad for Roger. Do you remember? I've always been fascinated with criminal stuff and law enforcement and documentaries and serial killers. I watch all that stuff. Do you remember how Jeffrey Dahmer always talked like if you could tell he wasn't right? He always had, he was like a little, like Sling Blade kind of style, you know? Just a little bit behind. Something was different. I know it's easy to say now because of what's happened, but I would see that in Roger. It always seemed like he was off, or like he got hit in the head a lot or something, or he was sad, or like his dad. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I would laugh like crazy at their dynamic. Rampage makes me laugh like ridiculous. I love the dynamic. But there was always also something kind of sad and distant about that guy. Like, is he thinking about something? Is he just like a super introvert? Is he depressed? Is he not all there? There was always something off about him. And I've been watching so much footage the last couple of days about these dudes and the incident. And I came across this footage of when Rampage came on some show talking about his cars or something like that. And it showed Roger when he was like, I don't know, he could have been like 9-10 years old. And it showed Rampage with his two half Asian kids. And he's like loving them and holding them. And you could just see Roger looking at him like, it was hard to see. He seems like someone that has always been after the affection of his dad. And it hurts me to say this because I love Rampage. But he seemed like someone that was always after the affection of his dad. Wow. To Rampage, Roger was just always the butt of a joke. And again, that's why this was the perfect storm. What happens when someone like Jeffrey Dahmer, when someone like the Columbine kids, when someone like Richard Ramirez, what happens when someone that's not right up here? What happens when that's put in the wrong place at the wrong time? If Jeffrey Dahmer was born like in a different environment or something like that, he might have been in a situation where someone would have checked him early and he would have been donezo. Same thing with Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez, Rod, whatever the case. But this was like the perfect storm of someone being enabled every step of the way. And again, doesn't justify him. He's still a danger to society. I don't want to take this conversation down a path I didn't mean it to go. This stream was not to show any kind of remorse to Roger. The reason that I did this stream was because I did not like or appreciate the ignorant reception that Chael Sonnen got. And again, I will reiterate, I don't like that dude. But I thought it was unfair because you have someone that has such pro wrestling knowledge about kayfabe and what the depths and lengths that people are willing to go. Wrestlers will live and die by kayfabe. They take that very seriously. That's why Vince McMahon got all mad at Triple H and didn't even let him get the bout and everything when him and Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were like hugging and all that. It was like, kayfabe is huge. So I understand when Chael is like, oh yeah, Psycho Stu might wake up and say, yeah, it was a work. We know it was a work. We already know that. The tricky thing was, I don't know if Chael Sonnen was meaning to imply that Psycho Stu might wake up and say, yes, we agreed that he would hit me 23 times. That would have to be very specific. So I think that's the absurdity of that might be what upset people about Chael Sonnen. But it's like people were pretending that they don't. It's not Sonnen's fault if you don't know what kayfabe is. Because again, like, people were getting mad at Maven, at Rob Van Dam for talking about this. And I'm hesitant to mention Mark Henry because Mark Henry, he took it a little far out there. But people are getting mad at these dudes who know the most about it. They're getting mad at dudes in the industry that know the jargon, that know the lifestyle and the culture and how that's their whole identity is the kayfabe. That's why Psycho Stu was so, I mean, the moment he saw there was a camera, I'm gonna smack a can on someone's head. That's the life. It ain't playing around. That's the life. Oh, there's a camera on? I'm smacking someone in the head with a foreign object. They're real about that. So some casual, some noob can't come in with a pitchfork and be like, that doesn't mean this, and I don't know what kayfabe is, so who cares? He's evil. And it's a hard thing to argue because while Roger was wrong and he should be held accountable, I just feel like people got upset with Chael for the wrong reasons. And I don't want to live in a world where people can act like they did with Chael and get away with it. That's the whole reason I'm making this video. It's not to defend Raja. It's not even necessarily to defend Chael Sonnen. I don't want to live in a world where this angry mob can come into his community and act like they know more about people who actually know about pro wrestling just because of how mad they are. That's what bothered me.